welcome back to the channel. You're watching Unbiased Magic Reviews, the place you come to learn about magic that you're going to use. And today I'm taking a look at Chapter 10 of Dani DaOrtiz's Chaos Project. It's called The Thought of Card Location. You can pick this up for $10 from Penguin Magic. You'll get about 46 minutes of instructional video where you will learn the main effect as well as two other handlings and all of the psychology that goes along with it. Now, this effect follows along the lines of the usual Chaos Project effects, where the effect looks completely chaotic, like you have no control over anything, and yet it still ends well. That is really the theme of this project, and as I always tell you guys, I have no disclosures. Nobody has sent me this to review. I have no affiliations with magic companies, so you can rest assured that what I'm telling you here is my own honest opinion from road testing this over the past 2 months. I'm also going to talk to you guys about how I've changed it a little bit. It might help you if you decide to pick this up. So what is the effect? The effect is very simple. A spectator has a card that they're thinking of, that they selected, and you're going to allow 3 or 4 spectators to eliminate cards apparently freely a couple of times until you get down to just 2 cards, and then that spectator is going to eliminate the last card, leaving just 1 card. They're going to announce their thought of card, and of course that's it. Now, this plot is really popular, especially the highly gaffed versions that you guys probably know about. Probably the most popular was Bill Abbott's Smart Ass Pack. But there's been many different versions out there, and usually they're highly gimmicked or highly gaffed. I know Carol Fox had a version that used a 50-50 deck, and the problem with those types of versions that use things like a Popeye Popper deck is that the deck really can't be scrutinized closely. You guys may remember I did a review on Bob Cassidy's Billet Killers, and for some reason at the end of that project he actually put an extra effect, which was literally like this type of effect, where the spectators were going to whittle down a deck until 1 card, and that matched a prediction or thought of card. And often that's how this is done, as a prediction. And here Dani DaOrtiz gives you the option. He does teach you a version which is like a prediction type effect as well, if you are interested in that. So things that you guys want to know about is how gaffed is the deck that you're going to be using. The reality is it's a very minor modification, so you'll be able to bring in and out what you need to perform the effect, and so you can pretty much be able to do it with your deck that you're carrying with you. I know you have at home what you need to be able to do that. You are going to learn 2 other handlings which are completely impromptu, so you'll be able to use any deck, even the spectator's own deck. The explanation is about 15 minutes or so, and then he goes into like the deep dive, the deep psychology of the effect, and because of that you're going to see that you're going to be way ahead of the spectator. Actually, spectators really is what it is. There's no difficult sleight of hand whatsoever, so it's like absolute beginner level, but you will need to study the procedure because there is timing involved, and the psychology is very, very deep. What I really liked in the explanation was how Dani DaOrtiz says they see what's going on, but they don't process it. And that is the truth, because you're so far ahead of them throughout the whole effect that they're really, even though they see the end coming, there's no way that they're going to be able to prevent it or alter it. And Dani DaOrtiz has thought of all possible contingencies here, giving you all kinds of tips to help you. He even gives you a tip from Hofzinser that's like pure gold and just worth the price of picking this up, which is why I think you guys are really gonna like this a lot. It's just really good stuff. And the reason why the effect is so strong is because it plays for a group of people, and because 3 or 4 people they're all involved, they're all actively removing cards from different parts of the deck. Seemingly they're making all the decisions, and with each pass you're showing the cards to the person that has a card that they're thinking of, and their card isn't there. And so with each step, the deck is getting whittled down to just a smaller amount of cards. It seems absolutely impossible that you know, even though they're getting free choices, that somehow somebody isn't eliminating the thought of card until you get to near the very end. And I did like how Dani DaOrtiz does add like a little wrinkle in his presentation where he says, you know, I don't even know if this is a complete deck. It just plants a seed in their mind that maybe their thought of card isn't even in the deck, you know? And so it does build up the suspense all the way up until the end. And I would say that this is what should be considered as a major effect, not a minor effect. And it's because it literally culminates to a point where it's absolutely unbelievable, where you just have 2 cards left and that spectator mixes them up under the table as much as they want, and they eliminate one, and yet the one card that they didn't eliminate is their thought of card. It just seems absolutely impossible. So that's really what you're going to expect here on this, and hopefully that does answer the questions that you guys have. Now, the impromptu versions, they're very easy to perform and they can be done with anyone's deck, so I think you're going to like that a lot. Now, from my own road testing of this, I will tell you guys that I found 2 things that I thought were kind of a negative, but they were just because of my own preferences. You may not think that they're a negative, but I thought they were. Like, I found that because I perform for lay people, I didn't like Dani DaOrtiz's selection procedure. And because you are using a modified deck, you actually could really give that person really a selection of a card that feels completely fair. And I found that if I slightly modified my deck just a little bit, I was also able to let them take the deck after that selection was made and just shuffle it up as much as they want. And for some reason, for lay people, when they're given that option to be able to shuffle a deck as much as they want after a selection has been made or thought of, to them it feels like there's really no way you could have any control over the cards, especially if you don't look at the faces afterwards. So even when I took the deck back and I gave it a couple of shuffles face down, it just looks like we're just randomizing the cards a little bit more. And because the next step is this elimination procedure that feels completely fair, there's no suspicion of anything going on. And for those that are interested, if you would want to perform a version like that, but with a completely like impromptu with a borrowed deck, you can actually on the fly modify somebody else's deck using a very simple idea that Ed Marlowe was a big fan of. So if you study any material from Ed Marlowe, then you know what I'm talking about. If you still haven't figured out what I'm saying and you want to know, just send me an email and I'll explain it to you. It's extremely simple, but when I tell you, you'll say, oh yeah, that makes complete sense. So those were really my experiences from road testing this. In terms of other versions of effects that are similar to this that you guys may want to check out, Harry Reiser published a version which was called, I think it was called like One Left Standing or One Man Left Standing. I'll leave like the link below here. Bill Simon also published a version in his book Effective Card Magic, which was called like the half and half elimination or something like that. But in the Harry Reiser effect, especially if you do track down that version, you will learn Charlie Miller's table spread force, which is a great force if you're not familiar with it. I would urge you definitely to check that out because these versions are completely impromptu with just a completely regular deck in use. You may like them. They will feel a little bit more restrictive than this version that is taught by Dani DaOrtiz, which is why I would recommend this version by Dani DaOrtiz over those versions. If you're looking for a version that you can perform one-on-one, not in a group setting, then my highest recommendation goes to Paul Cummins and his effect that's called Choice. And you can find that in From a Shuffle Deck in Use 2. I've used it for years, and the reason why it's so strong is because it's from a completely shuffled deck in use. It's your spectator's deck. They're going to make a mental selection. You never look at the faces of the cards. They seemingly get all the choices, and they whittle down the deck to one card, which is, of course, their card, the one that they're thinking of. And you really never know their card until the very, very end when you turn over that last card and they name their card. It's not until that moment that you're even going to know what their card is. No difficult sleight of hand, even though It's Paul Cummings, and we all know that he's the master of the side steal, as well as he was the master of the side steal because he passed away, as well as many other sleights. This effect is literally just about self-working, and I've used it for years, and I've had a lot of success with it. And this is why you watch this channel for recommendations like this. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, click the subscription button and give me a thumbs up, because this is why you watch this channel, right? So anyway, here is the rating of this effect by Dani DaOrtiz. And you can see that I pretty much gave him almost the highest rating. I just took off a couple of points for a few little things, like the structure of the routine I thought was pure gold, except again, I didn't really like his selection procedure, although you might find nothing wrong with it. You may think that it's just great the way that it is. But you can see that I gave this a final rating of 4.08 out of 5. And I really would give this effect one of my highest recommendations to you guys. I think you're gonna love it and you're gonna use it. And I'm telling you that because it's an effect that I've been using now for the past 2 months, and I will continue to use it because it plays really well for a group of people. And I really like all the psychology that you learn, all the little things that Dani DaOrtiz shares with you. It's all pure gold. And even though this is being sold for $10, it's probably worth at least 2 times that for what you're going to learn and what you're going to get. It's strange, in the magic community, there's a lot of magic that's way overpriced, yet this is probably priced just right, you know, when you think about it, because it's really a steal almost. I think it's really something that you're getting your money's worth for what you are getting. Anyway, that's everything I wanted to say about this effect. As usual, if you guys have any questions or comments, just leave them below for me. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys, and I hope that this has been helpful to you. I'll see you on the next review.